hit 7 billion, and now we are talking about 8 billion. So within the space of 10 years, 11 years, so to say, we have added 1 billion. Wow, that's a big one. No, so now looking at that, would you say that the growth is normal?
Well, yeah. It is normal given all circumstances. Even though it took the world about 100 years to move from 1 billion to 2 billion.
Yes.
But since then, it has taken fewer years to achieve all the milestones. But then, if you also look at the projection, it appears as if this 8 billion is like the maximum. Well, not in terms of population, but that gradually now, it is projected that moving from 8 to 9 billion will take about 15 years.
15 years, yes.
And then from 9 to 10 may take about 20-something years, which means maybe this could be the most the fastest rate of increase we're experiencing. Which could be as a result, well, there are a number of factors playing out.
Oh, let's talk about the factors. To you, what are some of the factors that actually necessitated this rapid growth in our population size?
Yeah, you see, as the healthcare system, as there's improvement in the healthcare system, more responsive maternal and child care, then if we find that many more babies begin to survive, so and then even at the upper end, what you call the aging population,
yes.
Due to better care, many more people live longer. And then, so because of general improvement in the standard of living, people live longer, generally. So you expect that the change in population is simply birth minus death. So, yeah, so if fewer people die and more people are born, then you find that the population will naturally increase. So those are the factors. Even though as it increases, it also generates certain concerns.
Now, before we look at the concerns, let's talk about maybe the benefit of having such a large population. Are things actually getting better for us in the world or in our society today? When we talk about, just like you said, from just 11 years, we are hitting another billion. Yeah. So now, are things really getting better for us with this number of people on the planet?
Well, see, the critical thing is not just the number of people. Is a management issue, is governance issues. How do you plan for this population? It's not as if the earth cannot contain even more. But the earth has the resources to contain even more. But how do we plan to deploy these resources? How do we manage things around us to make sure that this population is adequately taken care of, and even in a sustainable way, that even the future generation will still be able to live comfortably.
Okay, but then again, because I still know that, with this number of people, at least with the use of manpower, apart from governance, can't we, utilize it?
Yes, I mean, of course, the greatest asset we have is our population. So if you make that population a productive population, then you gain. So that 8 billion means that, give or take, 60% of this should be in the productive range. So if you have 8 billion and you have 4.8 in the productive range, and you utilize them very well, then things will be good. That's why it comes back again to those governance issues. Yes.
Okay, now, from some of the research made, it's been projected that Africa has the highest growth in this 11 years.
Yes.
And of course, Nigeria is an African nation. Now, we are talking about mega resources we have in Africa. Now, having this explosion in our population, what does that mean for us? I mean, looking at our country and then look at our economy and so many things that we have been, passing through as a country.
Yeah, that's the unfortunate thing that we have. And not just that we have this population, is the youthful population.
Youthful, yes.
Yes. Nigeria has a very youthful population. And I claim globally that those of them who find their way out have shown that these are bundles of talents. So that managed properly, they could turn things around. But somehow we have failed at that management level. But what it should mean for us, I mean, it is said that one out of every 4 or 5 African is a Nigerian. So if that is the case, it means that if Africa is contributing the largest, then Nigeria per country should be contributing the largest.
Largest, right.
So that means we have a higher share of this amazing population, which we need to turn into a working force. So it is all a challenge to us. How do we turn these potentials into working force for us to make things turn around? So I think that for us, it is the challenge of utilize what you have. It is there for us. We have this youthful population. We need to make them work for society.
Now, talking about the youthful population, how do we turn it for our own benefit? Of course, looking at our system of education where, you know, we've heard the story of ASU and all that, and then we had a lot of youth being unemployed, maximally employed for them to, you know, contribute their quota to the society. Now, what then is the role of government in all this? And also stakeholders, because most times it seems that the government cannot even do it all when it comes to, you know, helping out in skill acquisitions, in empowering the youth, in educating the youth, because some people actually, they want to go to school, but they might not really have the resources to do so.
Yes, government does not do it, cannot even do it alone, but government is the arrowhead. Government lays out the framework through which other individuals and groups can come in now and help. But I mean, our system of education, unfortunately, is, I think we have left our education where the white man, the colonial masters, you know, left it. And the colonial masters were looking for mere clerks. They were interested in clerks and so on that will help in the colonial administration. They were not really out to educate our people. It is for us to turn our educational system to make sure that when this one is that it should be available to every child. We must make it available to every child. I'm not talking about free education, but we must find a way of making this education affordable for every child. And then it should be a functional education so that when this child graduates, it's not only that he has a certificate, but he is employable. He is employable. Even if he's not employable, he can himself become, he or she can become an employer of labor. Or at least employ him or herself first. Be able to do something, become a productive member of society. So that's the challenge. That's why I say that everything seems to boil down to governance issues. And because of the social contract, we have entrusted a lot of powers to government. Government cannot do it alone, but government must provide a framework, must provide a direction. And then the private sector and others will join to make sure that things work fine.
Okay, we're talking about 8 billion now. What happens to when we hit 9 billion? And then 8 billion, we are still having issues with our governance, with some of the policies that are being dished out by the government. Now, I remember there was a time China actually did something on the birth rate, like giving birth to children and all that, but it seems they are complaining about it now, but let's not go into that. Now, in Africa, for example, what do we do to help to checkmate the birth of, you know, newborns and all that, so to avoid more explosion coming from Africa? Because you see in some homes, you see like how many children, 8, 10 children, and most of them, most of the parents don't even have the capabilities to take care of those children.
Yes. Yeah, you see, there's the issue of responsible parenthood. When I say responsible parenthood, it should also not just passing it on the parents, it's on the quality of those parents. If a woman is a professional, she does not have time to have 8 children because she has a career.
Yes.
And she also knows that I am at this level. I will expect each of my child at least to be at this level, if not more than that. Therefore, there's a challenge of care. And therefore, this one will say, no, I know I don't have the time to take care of 8 children. Maybe I can manage 4, I can manage 5, or even 3. So this will be a natural process of controlling the population. I will not prescribe that kind of measure that China applied, or maybe limiting the number of children by force.
Oh, okay.
No, let it be a natural process. Let's give every girl child. Let's emphasize on the girl child. Let's give every girl child the necessary education. Give her the empowerment to be a contributing member of society. And this will naturally take care of itself. That is, for me, that is the road to follow. Not that of saying, no, you should not give birth to more than 4 children or 5 children. No, I don't believe in that birth control thing.
Okay.
But improve the quality of the existing population, and it will take care of the growth.
All right, let's talk about the concerns associated with this population explosion. Of course, the scientific consensus is that human activity is actually causing significant climate disruption. So it means that on some parts, things are getting better, just like you said, that if we can utilize this particular number of people we have, that of course it will be a boom for us. But then again, if we can't control it, and if we can make the necessary arrangements to see how we can utilize them, things will become bad for us. Now let's talk about some of these concerns.
Yes, of course, the environmental impact. That's what led to what we call the sustainable development pattern, sustainable production and consumption pattern. Whenever you go into production or consumption, it was in such a way that you think that you must think of the future generation, people coming after you. Will they be able to enjoy what you are enjoying now? Not just because you have seen forest and you want to expand, then you embark on rapid deforestation. If you embark on this rapid deforestation in terms of civilization, in terms of development, what happens to the future generation? Will they meet any forest at all? And if you deforest every place, it has a lot of impact on the environment. So that means that whatever we do, it must be done in a sustainable manner. That we've met Earth, which is livable. We must utilize the resources in such a way that it remains livable, both for us and the future generation.
Okay, but I understand that, but you know, most times we don't see it as a responsibility to take care of our environment. We feel that the environment should take care of itself. Look at even going to the oceans, people that fish and so many of them, we don't even think about, all we know is what we consume it now, whatever happens in the next years to come, we don't care about it.
That is being irresponsible. That's being irresponsible. Part of responsibility is thinking about the future. If you're fishing, know that the fingerlings will need to be there so that you will have the giant fish tomorrow. If you now do something that will destroy even the fingerlings, it means that you have wiped out a generation of fish, and then you might not have fish for tomorrow. Or even the games that we hunt. If we hunt them recklessly, then we'll wipe out those generations. So everything is about taking responsibility for our actions, and doing things in such a way that we are thinking of the future generation, those coming after us. Will they see a good environment to live in? That's the whole issue of sustainable development goals.
Now, how do we inculcate that habit of taking responsibility? Do we start teaching all those things in schools, making children to understand it right from when they are old? Because you'll be amazed that you'll be walking on the road now and you see a child, after eating whatever he eats, he just threw it out of the window, and he or she doesn't care. And I've had an issue where a grown-up woman that went, she just parked on the road, and I saw the kids inside her vehicle. And then the next thing she did was just to fling her refuse, fling it out. And someone was like, why would you do that? You have children in your car. And then what are you teaching them? I was like, yes, it's your job. You're paid to do so. Just go and pick it up and then, arrange it properly. I mean, these are parents. Now, how can they actually pass down this values on their children when they don't really have one to pass down to them.
Yes, actually. Maybe I will support the idea of starting this early. Maybe teaching this environmental concern right from the lowest level of education, that we must be responsible for our environment. We must care for the environment we have, preserve it so that the others will meet it and use it.
All right, we are still here on ABS TV looking at the topic as the world hits 8 billion. Now, what are actually the implications on us? Now we have a population expert here. He is the former commissioner with NPC right here. He has been telling us the implications. Now, we've talked about the advantages and some of the disadvantages. And then we have talked about some of the concerns concerning this explosion in our population. What do we need to do on the individual basis? We've talked about what government need to do. Now we've talked about the parents being responsible enough to help their children, especially when it's come to taking care of our environment. Now, other stakeholders, how do we need to protect our environment? Of course, I remember that clubs like Rotary Club will tell you about planting one tree. If you cut down one, you plant four and all that. Now, how do we sustain all this? Because now, yeah, they just do it, and it seems like it's just that period that they do it. What happens next? Because of course, if our population keeps increasing, we need to make our environment better so that it will accommodate a whole lot more. But when we deplete the environment, I mean, of course it will affect us.
Of course. Yeah, the thing will be, the whole issue is let there be more hands in the campaign. Rotary does his own. Let others join in the campaign. And then people should realize that whatever you put in the environment is what you will receive. If we keep on loading the environment, what I mean by loading is, if we just keep on exploiting the environment without thinking of what happens next, of course, naturally the environment cannot take care of itself. We are meant, it said we are gardeners. This is a garden, and we are the gardeners. And if you're a gardener, that means you have to take care of the flowers and the garden.
Sure.
You have to make the garden neat. If you don't make it neat, the garden cannot make itself neat. So if you want to see a beautiful garden, then you must be a good and hardworking gardener. You must be a concerned gardener. So each of us should see him or herself as a gardener in this garden and be responsible for things around you. For those who have gone into manufacturing, if you're going into manufacturing, you should do it in a responsible manner. You don't just discharge your effluents anyhow. Know that there is a downline. As you discharge it, you are discharging it either into a stream or whatever. But it's going to affect people. So you must take the extra care of treating those effluents so as to reduce the environmental impact. So whatever we do, we should be concerned about the environmental impact of our actions. Even the simple thing of you drink you take a can of Fanta and then you just fling it out.
Yeah.
Just imagine if everybody begins to fling out, to fling his or her can out that way. You see a pile of refuge already there. So we should take that extra care. That little care will tell a lot on the environment.
All right. Earlier, you talked about projections, and of course I read about it coming from the UN that the next 1 billion will be in like 15 years.
Yes.
For us to hit another billion will be like in 15 years. And then we also attributed this hike or this explosion to, what we talk about having good healthcare system and all that. And that happened in just 11 years.
Yes.
So what are the factors that will make us to hit another 1 billion in 15 years to come? When we know that as the day goes by, we have a lot of innovations, we have a lot of things going on, even in the health sector, and then even the food that we eat, most of them are being modified. And you see a whole lot of people looking for how to live a better lifestyle to elongate their lives. So why will it now take us more 15 years to hit another 1 billion. One would think that, yeah, because of the innovation that we had, that it took us just 11 years, that maybe in the next 5 years or 10, yes, we hit another 1 billion.
Yeah, but yeah, the truth is that over time, more countries are moving from poor income to middle income, from, lower middle income to upper middle income, and then maybe to high income countries. And as already pointed out, this 1 billion addition is more from the poor income countries, poor and lower middle income countries. Now, but in the upper middle income and high income countries, actually the fertility rate is dropping. It's actually dropping, while it is increasing in those lower middle income and poor income countries. So it's expected that due to the sustainable development goals, due to sustained campaigns, more countries will migrate within this gap, will migrate from poor income to lower middle income, lower middle income to upper middle income countries. And therefore, with that advancement, even though there is advancement in healthcare system and so on, the advancement in education, the professionalization of women will naturally drop the fertility rate. And so we will witness a slower growth than we just witnessed. So the more the campaign is carried out, the more this thing continues, now that growth rate will be controlled, and it will keep on dropping. So it won't shoot that fast.
Okay, that's quite understandable. But then again, let's look at Africa as a continent now. Why all these things are happening? The explosion is hitting, and we are the fastest growing in population and all that. Now, what are the things? You notice that most Africans, of course, the slangs going on in Nigeria now, Jackba. Most Africans, we want to, leave and go to a country like, abroad for greener pastures and all that. Now, when we talk about population, of course, they are living here and going there to populate them, but then when we still count numbers, we count them as Africans and all that. Now, what should we do to better our continent, to make people at least, because we've talked about when we maximize the population that we have to better our society. Now, if these people keep on living the country, if we keep on, keep on going for greener pastures, but then we are still being counted as Africans, and we are not being utilized well here to develop our continent, what lever should we borrow as a continent from these places that we visit, from these countries like the US, the UK that we visit, to make our place a better place for us to stay as Africans?
Yeah, it's one issue of choices. Two, is engineering sound systems, good social systems, good educational systems. It's just the system. When you create a system that works, people want to be around. So it will simply take a deliberate effort. Now, you see, Africa is rich in resources. But unfortunately, up till now, even from the colonial days till now, we have retained the economy the way it suited the colonial masters. The colonial masters came to exploit. And therefore, they were more interested in getting us to produce those cash crops, just get those raw products. They will take them and then go to refine and bring back to us. And unfortunately, we have remained like that. You can imagine that Nigeria still has to export crude oil. Just that way it is, and then import refined fuel. It is a shame that after so many years of independence, we are still just exporting. What we want to sell is just crude oil, and we are importing the refined products. It's a shame, because we have not. The key is the value adding. So it should be a deliberate effort. It's a conscious effort. It is a choice to tap the resources we have in Africa, utilize them, and make them work for us. change our environment, change our educational system, overhaul our political, I don't know how to put it, but we need an overhaul of our relationships, of how we understand what is going on among us. We need a complete overhaul to make sure to realize that we have a responsibility to make our society be better than even those places we want to go to. And we have the capability, we have the resources to make them, to turn our society to that way. We have the resources to make Nigeria the go-to place to have even Americans, Europeans want to migrate to Africa. Migration is a natural process. No matter how, even if Africa becomes, even if we make Africa the best place, people will still want to move out. But
they're not with the rates that is happening right now.
But when it becomes like it is a dissipation, we keep on giving out the best we have. It's like our best hands want to move out. Their best hands want to move out. If you keep on giving out your best hand, how will you develop? Then you only train them up, and then they go and develop the other places.
Okay, so now, I want to ask you a personal question. Now, as a former NPC commissioner rather, sorry. Yeah. Now, this population growth, let's focus on Nigeria now. Will you say it's a blessing or a curse to us as a nation? No, it's a personal question. Yes.
No, I would rather say we can make it what we want to.
Okay.
We can make it a blessing. Actually, it is a blessing because our population is our greatest asset. So we can make it a blessing if we manage this population properly. But it will be a curse if we continue doing things the way we are doing things. It will be a big curse. Why will it be a big curse? If you don't engage these youth, it's a youthful population, if you don't engage them, they will get into crimes. All these kidnappings and abductions and all this unknown government that are going on, I think that they're all, it's because they are not fully engaged. If they are fully engaged, being educated, working, enjoying the environment, yeah, there will be criminal elements. There's no such that is free of criminal elements, but not at this rate. And they will not have time to get into some of these things they get into. It is difficult to imagine a normal human being will just come and see you and then shoot you and enjoy pumping bullets into your head. So there are many people we could save from this criminality if the society is managed properly. Then let it be those who are, I would say those who are doomed to criminality that will remain the criminals. Let society do its own job to save these youths from straying into criminality. I remember when in the university we were being faced with the issue of cult. Yes, my advice was, look, create activities. Many of them get into cult because they are looking for where to invest their useful energy. So create competitions, create a lot of things. A good number of them will face these competitions. Then maybe only those who are, I would say again, doomed to cultism will stray into cultism. And it helped a lot.
Okay, let's quickly talk about the census that we are already looking at coming up in the year 2023 by the National Population Commission. Now, do you think that if we get, because as it is right now, truth be told, when we do research and I remember when in school we are doing, what do you call it, writing your thesis and all that, you have to depend on the population, the census that was conducted very long time ago. Now, do you think that if we have the correct figures, that it will help the government, especially as we are planning, we are having our major election next year, 2023. Do you think that it will help the new leadership or the new administration to plan properly? Because from all we are saying right here, we are talking about the youth not being engaged fully and all that. But it seems like the people in power don't really know the actual number they are working with. Do you think that this census will help them, to plan properly for the youth, then know the number of the youths we have, know the number of women we have, know the number of children and the elderly ones that we have in our society. What impact, what is the implication of that 2023 census when it happens?
No, I mean, census is a very critical, actually we call it the soft infrastructure for development. It is because we talk of evidence-based planning. Evidence-based is that if I am governor of Anambra State and I am talking of education, I'll be thinking of how many teachers will I need in my schools, in my primary schools in 2023 or 2024. It should be evidence-based. That means I will know how many children will be of primary school age in Anambra State in 2023. So I should have that as a figure.
Data.
So if I have it as a figure, then I will now know, okay, how many schools will they need and how many teachers will they need? The same thing for secondary schools. So cascade it to Nigeria. So it is a very critical planning infrastructure. So, and the problem has been that our censuses have been very political. Very political.
Why so?
Because people only think of sharing, that is being used as a means of, sharing the national cake. So people try to do a lot of things, manipulate, and, People do not understand census as simply trying to see who is where. Let's find who is where in their numbers. For instance, in Anambra State, if you come to Anambra State, let us know those who are indigenes of Anambra State, wherever they are, and those who are resident in Anambra State. Because it will help the governor in planning. If, for instance, if you know that there are 5 million people resident in Anambra State, then the governor will be planning that at least every time I have about 5 million people in Anambra State.
Yes.
So in providing roads, providing a healthcare system, I have 5 million people. And now, but suppose that I know that the indigenes of Anambra State, maybe there are about 2 million of them outside. Then he knows that during festive period, like during the Xmas, I am expecting 2 million people extra. And therefore, that's the planning goes out. It's evidence-based planning. So it is very critical. It's very important. And our people should begin to see it as data for planning, not data for determining who gets what, which state is more populous or is bigger than the other. I mean, the only thing it gives you is bragging rights. You say, my state is bigger than yours. But at the end of it all, however big it is, what is it bringing to the national table? Right. So we may have to begin to look at, there are things we may need to do to take away the interest people are placing on census figures, the political interest. And then know that census figures are mainly for planning. It's not just that, I mean, when we conduct censuses, well, what is published is usually Anambra is this, Enugu is this, Kogi is that, Taraba is that. But that is not just what census comes up with.
Okay.
There are a lot of other things. One, we do housing. Yeah, it's population and housing census. So we determine the number of families in the whole country, the number of houses that are there. So that also helps government to know, do we now have, what is the housing gap?
Yes.
So how do we provide, how do we, fill up the gap?
The gap.
It also tells us about the economic disposition. How do we have farmers? How are the farmers, distributed? What are the large-scale farmers? What are the, what do you call it? The large-scale farmers, the medium-scale farmers, the low-scale farmers, the sustainable, So it's like an economic map. It provides data across various sectors, various indicators. So a well-conducted census is very critical for planning. That is why in most countries, it is like magic. Every 10 years it is done. Nigeria, well,
I can't even remember the last time. Since I was born, whether I've ever experienced any census. Okay.
And then when it is conducted, there will be questions. I mean, that was the last time that it became a problem. Should there be more women than men, and so on? But these things are not issue of sentiment. These things are issue of what you see on ground. So that is why, like the commission said, we want to do, initially the commission wanted to conduct a greenfield census, zero-based greenfield census. That is, let's go out. Let us have no previous assumptions. Let's go out, and whatever we see there, let's take it.
Hello?
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Tell us your name and your location.
This is Sam from Kaduna.
Sam, how are you doing?
Thank God.
All right. So do you have anything to contribute?
Yes, of course.
All right, go ahead, Sam.
Okay. What I want to say is concerning the topic of today, especially now, newspaper review about the Soludo comment and the rest of it.
We are no longer doing the newspaper review right now. We are talking about the world hitting 8 billion today, being the 15th day of November 2022. So we are done with the press review. Yes, we are talking about the population explosion. All right, thank you so much for coming. Okay, just we are about to round up. So what's your kind of advice to our leaders? Because it still boils down to planning,
Yes.
from our leaders, governance and all that. So what's your advice to our leaders when it concerns the, of course, the new milestone we have in terms of our population and all that?
Yes. My advice is that it makes planning all the more critical. We need to plan because from all indications, Africa is contributing the largest in this 1 billion addition. And then, of course, if Africa is contributing, then Nigeria is contributing 1/4 of whatever Africa is contributing. So that means that it is a challenge for us to plan. It could be a blessing, it could be an asset, it could also be a curse. But if we plan, it is an asset. We can turn it into an asset. So leaders at all levels should get down to planning. Let's plan. Actually, the whole essence of government is that people have entrusted planning their lives into your hands. Yes, that's actually what it means. We have entrusted planning our lives into your hands. So do that planning, engage us in that planning, and then let things work. And then in the planning, focus. There are focus that, or focuses that, that should be looked at. 1, the youth. 2, women and children. These are focal points. And then the environment. And then, of course, in all this, education is key. Education is key. We must look at our system of education, and we must stop playing politics with our education, with our educational system. It is not issue of saying those people are, you say, go back, and you have forced them back. With what morale? What is their attitude? You can force, teaching is something that in other countries, they go out of their way to make sure that the teacher is happy and that the children are happy, because they know that when the teacher is happy and the children are happy, then the teaching and learning will take place. If the teacher is not happy, well, you can force him on how to do the job. She will teach, but she will just do it as a job. But teaching should not be a job. Teaching should be a passion. It should be a passion. And you need to be happy to give her that passion.
All right, I want to say a very big thank you to you, Professor Chika Moore, a former Federal Commissioner, National Population Commission, and also a lecturer in the Department of Mathematics at Anambra University, Oka. Thank you so much for being here with us this morning.
It's my pleasure being here.
All right, thank you so much for also being a part of our discussion this morning, for watching us on your television set. Of course, you've heard it that today, as of the research and what UN is saying, that the world has 8 billion people. So we have about different human beings in the world that are up to 8 billion. Can you beat that? But then, just like our guest said, that we can make it an asset if the leaders plan properly and, utilize this explosion high. All right, we want to say a very big thank you to you for being part of our discussion today. My name is Chidima Oranwa. See you again tomorrow. Bye.
Niger people way.